Welcome back to Football's Global Hub. I am Russ Goldman. I will be sharing my thoughts in this upcoming episode on the World Cup in Boston. Many positives, so many positives, with a few negatives, which I'll get to at the end of this episode. I just want to mention it has been a long time since I've done an episode, and I apologize for that. It was the end of Fulham season. I'm just going to give you the reason for it, and I was just concentrating mostly on that, but I will be back with regular episodes of Football's Global Hub, starting with this one, and I'll be back to covering the Revolution pretty much on a regular basis from now on. So just wanted to say sorry that I've not been around for a while, but I am back, and I'm going to spend, I don't know, half hour, maybe longer than that, talking about the World Cup and talking about how successful it was in Boston regardless of what people thought heading into it, that it might not be a success. Well, it was undeniably a massive success. And going into it, I remember what people were thinking, especially, I want to say the media here were doubting what the World Cup would mean to Boston. And all it did was highlight the city in a very positive way and brought so much to it. I live 45 minutes outside of Boston. I live 15 minutes away from Gillette Stadium. It was called Boston Stadium for the World Cup. And I can just tell you that it has left such a positive mark. The question is, what will happen next? And I'll talk about that during this episode, but I want to really highlight so many things that have come out of it in such a positive way. And like I said, there will be things that I'll be talking about which are disappointing at the very end, which are on a negative light. But I want to focus on more the positive parts to this. So why don't I just get going on this and start by talking, just give you my opening thoughts. And here in Boston, at Boston Stadium, Gillette Stadium, 7 matches were hosted. And there was all these concerns about traffic, and I did not hear about these severe issues with traffic. That never really came to fruition as far as I've heard. The only issue that I heard on a negative light were, especially in the beginning stages, using the trains to get to Boston Stadium. But I think in the end, it all worked itself out. One interesting part of this is that, especially a lot of international supporters were walking huge distances to Boston Stadium. I actually saw signs that let me know how far people were walking. They were walking as far as on Route 1, the Big Y. And anyone that knows Walpole, that is 3 miles away. And people were walking that far away to Boston Stadium. So that is amazing. And again, just a wonderful sight to see. So many people coming to this area that weren't familiar with it. And the one thing, again, from what I've heard from people that came over here, what I've seen, especially in the Boston area, I think many were surprised of what they saw in Boston. I don't think that they were ready for it. I'll be talking about the Tartan Army coming up next, but it was fans from everywhere, from Norway, from France, from so many different countries. And I think they saw something that maybe their media did not allow them to know about this area. Because, again, one of the focus on America has been around the world very negative. So what's great is when people come to visit, they see a very different United States, especially Boston. You see a great place to visit. And I will be making my pitch here to visit Boston. Please come visit us over New York City. And I'll say that to my friends in England, that take off your New York Yankees cap and put on a Red Sox cap. Come visit us. I'm telling you right now, you will have a better experience in Boston than you will in New York. I love New York. Don't get me wrong. But Boston will feel more like home to you than New York City ever will. And I think you'll enjoy it. And so there's my pitch for Boston. But again, I just want to share my thoughts overall on the World Cup. And like I said, the many positives outweigh the negatives. You know, in this area, so many people got into it. I'll use my own family as an example. My wife, who is not a fan of the sport at all, none whatsoever. She got into it. Part of that came from social media. Part of it came from our regular media, just talking about it so much. And she started checking it out. And I got to tell you, she fell in love with the Norway team because of Erling Haaland, because he became a TikTok superstar over here. That's the fact. Okay. One of the things that come out of the World Cup is how massive Erling Haaland became in America. So my wife wanted to watch all of Norway's matches because of him. So again, positives for the fans that weren't familiar with the sport. They got to see it played on such a high level. I'll be getting to that in just a bit, but I want to really focus on the positives to really get us going here. And I have to start with the Tartan Army taking over Boston, and they did, and they absolutely did. And to the point that two of my coworkers went to the Dubliner to just want to party with the Tartan Army. They did that. And I think it's wonderful. And they said that the experience was tremendous. They waited 3 hours in line to get in the Dubliner. They didn't care because of the atmosphere outside of the Dubliner. Then they get in for another 3 hours and just hung out with the Tartan Army and loved it. And the Tartan Army brought so much to Boston that sounds like will become a sister city to Boston, which is wonderful. It really is that we're going to have this connection with Scotland moving forward. I love that. And they brought so much to the city, to the region, with their positivity and how much life that they brought. And that's never going to leave. But what that also did is it highlighted Boston as a place to visit. I'll keep going back to that. The Tartan Army really put that on the map. Came in such huge numbers. We were sorry to see them leave. Really, really sorry to see them leave. They were just such a positivity for the city. Basically drank Boston dry. Think about that. Boston is a drinking city, and the Tartan Army drank them dry. So that is pretty impressive. But like I said, they were great for this area, and I'm so glad that they came. And I remember it was before their first match even was to be played, that I started hearing about the Tartan Army, started to see them on the news coming from the airport. And I was like, oh, this is going to be something special. And listen, it certainly was. And I can just tell you that people here, I think, did not know what to expect. And the Tartan Army really just put the World Cup on the map here in Boston. So I want to thank all those people that came over there, from there to here, to really get spirits going in the Boston area. And it never left. Even after they left, it was still there. That this feel-good factor took over the region. It started with the Tartan Army, but it continued. The Norwegians came. You have France. You had so many other countries that were here that really just took to the city. I will tell you, the English came, but did not make the mark that I thought that they would make when they came. I thought it would be crazy when they came, but they got to see their national team play. But it wasn't what I expected, maybe because so many of them were here before. I don't know. But it was different. And their focus, again, more is on New York. I'm talking about the fans of England's national team were more based in New York. So coming to Boston, I don't think was as big for them, which is disappointing. And I'll say it once again, take off your stupid Yankee cap and put on a Boston Red Sox cap. And whatever you do, please do not call me a Yankee. I take a lot of offense to that. Okay? It's not a term that I ever want to be associated with. And it has nothing to do with being from the U.S. It has to be from being from New York. And being from Boston, being called a Yank is offensive. I'll say it right now. Do not call me a Yankee. All right. So coming out of this, like I said, Boston should be a destination to visit. And that is one of the great things to come out of the World Cup is so many got to see not just Boston Stadium, but they got to see what this whole region offers. And I'll make the argument to them blue in the face to come visit us. Come visit me. I'm 45 minutes outside the city, but Boston has this whole area has so much to offer, whether it's going all the way down the Cape. If you want to go to Rhode Island, you want to go to Newport, Providence, you want to go up to the mountains, up to New Hampshire and Vermont, all the way up to Maine. It's all within a drive of the Boston area. So please come visit us because this should be a destination to visit. And that is a huge positive to come out of the World Cup. It's really got to show why people should come visit Boston. Boston does get a bad rap sometimes. And I understand with the history, there is a bad history to Boston. That's undeniable. But there is so much positivity if you come visit us, and you'll see what a great region this area is. So I just want to mention Boston should be a destination to visit, and it was definitely highlighted from everyone that came to the World Cup into the Boston area. Okay, let's move on. More positives. And this is one that might surprise many. So there were venues in Canada, in Mexico, and of course in the U.S., many venues. Gillette Stadium got high marks from many international journalists. In fact, I didn't see many journalists that didn't have it in their, say, top 3. In some cases, I saw it as their number 1. Now, I do see why, say, Dallas, where I actually spent some time the last couple of weeks. I was in Dallas while the World Cup was going on, and that's a wonderful city, and they did a tremendous job of hosting the World Cup. I was in downtown Dallas, watched parties everywhere. It was phenomenal. But Gillette Stadium did a wonderful job, and I saw journalists just loving that experience at Gillette Stadium. You all obviously also have Patriot Place. And it really showed that even though this was built in 2002, it really is still a modern stadium and has a lot to offer. So Gillette Stadium, again, another highlight to the Boston area. And when you look at it, it's funny because the World Cup final is in the worst rated stadium I've seen over and over again. And that's MetLife Stadium. That gets the worst marks. Think about that. So another victory for Boston over New York is that we have a much better stadium. I would agree with that. Gillette Stadium is a high quality stadium. Like the area, I live 15 minutes away, is just really good. It offers a lot. The whole Patriot Place area is tremendous. And I'm glad that so many got to see it. But the stadium itself, the sightlines and all that are great. And they did a very nice job getting it ready for the World Cup. So kudos to the Kraft family for getting Gillette Stadium ready for the World Cup. And they got the high marks that they deserve. One other thing that goes along with that is when we talk about the matches itself, the grass surface helped a great deal with a high level of play. I got to see this. I was concerned about this, especially at Gillette Stadium. But the grass surface was great. The ball played the way it's supposed to be played, the way the sport is supposed to be played. And I loved seeing that. I got to see it beforehand when the Revolution were playing on it. But again, they refined it for the World Cup even more so, and it was ready to go. And across all the venues, the grass surface showed how the matches are supposed to be played, and it helps with the level of play, helps also with injury issues, but the level of play, it's meant to play on grass. The ball flies on grass, but not too fast. It goes at the right pace that you want the play to go at. That's why I am vehemently against an artificial surface for any sport, especially this sport. It should not be there. I'll talk about that when I get to the negatives. But the grass surface, huge positive. And that's going to lead to talk about the level of play in general. So I think this is important to talk about because Americans in general want to watch sports at its highest level. And you could say the World Cup is the highest level for the sport. Premier League, La Liga, they're pretty high too. But when you have playing for your country and everyone playing together, basically a bunch of all-star teams for each country, the level of play is at its zenith. And when you look at, I'll use France as an example. I think France are going to win the tournament. When you have players at that level all playing together, you really can enjoy it because for, say, Americans that don't like the sport and are really getting into it only every 4 years, which I disagree with, but there are, including my own members of my own family, at least you get to see it at a high level and can appreciate it. You might not appreciate everything that goes along with it, but you can appreciate that you're seeing something and you can follow it. You can get into it more than just saying nothing's happening, which I've heard in my own family talking about Fulham. Nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. Okay. Well, you saw a lot happening, and the level of play at its highest level helps that. So for me, seeing it played at such a high level helps the region, this region, go beyond, I would say, the diehards of the sport like myself, and just spreads it to people that normally wouldn't watch it, like members of my own family. And they enjoyed it. And I can say that. My wife might be upstairs, and she's going to be honest. She's going to say that she enjoyed it. She has different reasons why she enjoyed it, but I could tell she enjoyed it. My son too. So just want to mention that. Okay. So now let's talk about the myth that people hear, or I'm going to call it an outright lie, that people here don't like the sport. They don't watch the sport. They don't care about the sport. It's complete and utter BS. And I'm going to back that up for you right now. So the TV ratings for Boston were among the highest in the nation. So this is what I'm about to share on my screen, if you're watching, is ratings from Fox. So these are going to be ratings from Fox through the round of 16. So this is going to give you a good indication of exactly where Boston falls. So again, this is from Stephen Goff from Soccer Insider. Fox Sports top World Cup markets through the round of 16. This is through the round of 16. Kansas City is number 1. Austin is number 2. Look who is number 3. Boston. And look who's number 9. Providence, Rhode Island. Providence is only 45 minutes from my house. I'm right in between Providence, Rhode Island, and Boston. So I would consider them also part of this region. So think about that. Providence, Rhode Island is number 9, and Boston is number 3. Yes, people love the sport here. Do not buy the BS that they don't care. They do care. They care tremendously, and it goes beyond the casual fan. The casual fan definitely joined in. They did, but this area loves the sport. So enough of that crap. Number 3 in the country for watching the World Cup. Boston, number 3. And oh, by the way, Providence, Rhode Island, number 9. Combine the two because it's the same area. It's really the same area. It just goes further down. That's all it is. I could be considered part of the Providence numbers, honestly, because I'm only 45 minutes away. So enough of that crap. Boston is high in the ratings, and people care about the sport here in Boston, regardless of what the media will tell you. Because that fact, it's a fact. Ratings don't lie. It's a fact. Okay. So now, before we move on and I share a couple of negatives, I want to talk a little bit about the U.S. men's national team because everyone here focuses on the fact that we need the U.S. men's national team to be very good to spread the sport. And if they're not good, then no one is going to care for the next 4 years. Like I said, I can argue that people are watching the sport in huge numbers each and every week. MLS continues to grow. Premier League numbers here in Boston are massive. They are. They are. Again, legacy media doesn't understand that. The broadcast media certainly doesn't understand that. People here watch the sport each and every week. They get up early in the morning, Saturday mornings, just like most do here. They get up and they watch the sport and they love the sport. But here's the issue, the U.S. men's national team. And it ended badly, okay? It certainly did. And it could have ended a different way because I think overall, talent-wise, I thought they matched up pretty well with Belgium. I was disappointed in how they played against Belgium. The issue that I have coming out of this, and I will say this, because people say, well, it's the same U.S. men's national team. The answer is no, it's different. This is a much, much more talented U.S. men's national team. I will argue the most talented U.S. men's national team that I can remember. But you have to play together as a team, and everything has to go together. What happened in Santa Clara was a team that was afraid to lose. They were, again, they played scared, and that showed itself. The talent that they have did not show itself because they played afraid. They were afraid to make a mistake. They were making mistake after mistake after mistake. They played scared. And that's ultimately why they lost that match. This wasn't a talent issue. I'm sorry. Against Belgium, it wasn't a talent issue. It was not being battle tested coming into it, not knowing how you had to play, that you had to play a little bit differently against an opponent that was better than the opponents that you already played. I'm not saying that the attitude was, well, we're just going to beat Belgium, but I think that they were surprised by what Belgium decided to do and did not know how to react to it, and they became nervous. I think they just expected to roll over them. So I think there was a little bit of arrogance going into this, not being battle tested. I thought they thought this was Paraguay. Belgium's not Paraguay. But I will just tell you, too many players did not rise to the occasion, and that's what you got what you got. But don't tell me that this is the same as 4 years ago or 12 years ago. No. Very talented players. Balogun, Weston McKennie. I will put, even though I have issues with him, Jedi Robinson in there, Tyler Adams. There are talented players there. There are. That I think will still be very competitive next time around. The problem is, I just don't think that they know how to beat a team that is as good as them or better than them when you have to really, I'm not going to say grind it out, but you have to meet that mentality that the others already know. And I know this from watching the Premier League. My team on many occasions will be outclassed, but they know how that they have to play against, say, a Manchester United, a Man City, and they can compete. The U.S. men's national team is more talented, and they just couldn't compete because they didn't have the mentality right. That's what it came down. It wasn't a talent issue. It was a mentality issue. It totally was. But that doesn't mean that everything's going to go back, that everything's gone backwards or it stayed the same. The answer is no. You're wrong. I'm right. I'll make that argument till I'm blue in the face. Much more talented team. This was not like it was 4 years ago. This is a better team. Same result, but much better team. Much more quality there. They just got to change their mentality. I'm not sure how you do it, but they need to do that. All right. Coming up next to end this episode, I am going to talk about some negatives to come out of the World Cup. And that's just how I'm going to end this episode of Football's Global Hub. Okay, so there are a few negatives to come out of the World Cup. And I'm sure people know what they are, but I'm going to mention it because this actually bothered me. I watch the sport religiously. Each and every day I'm invested. I'm in it. Okay. And I understand that some aren't as in it as me. But the issue I've always had, and I will continue to have, and it's not just this sport being an issue. This is my region with the Boston sports media. They are, for the most part, there are some that are excellent. Like I want to just mention Julian Cardillo, fantastic. There are many fine journalists here that care about the sport and that present it in the right way. And I will highlight them till I'm blue in the face because they are fantastic. Do that. But there are also some that are extremely ignorant. And some of the media coverage in Boston came off as ignorant. I'm going to share it. And once I share who it is, I'm going to mention who it is because he was an embarrassment throughout this World Cup. So I'm going to share on my desktop just this one tweet, but it goes deeper than the tweet. It goes to his articles. But Ben Volin from the Boston Globe, extremely ignorant when it comes to the sport. He never should have been covering it for the Boston Globe. Boston Globe should have hired me, not this guy, okay? Ben Volin normally covers the Patriots. So here is his comment. This is just one of them. And he just puts down, hockey does offsides right. Soccer does it incredibly wrong. First of all, it's football. So let's just get it to the, I don't call it soccer. I call it football. Soccer does it incredibly wrong. No, they don't. They don't do it wrong. In my opinion, they don't do it wrong at all. It's the way the game is being played. If you want to say that VAR has it wrong, if you got an issue with VAR, we can have a conversation. But the offside rule is not wrong. It is what it is. And I just tweeted up, dude, stop talking about a sport you know nothing about. You come off as an ugly American. And he certainly did. And he kept the tweets coming. And the other thing that, like I said, it wasn't just Ben Volin. It was others as well. They don't know what they're talking about when they talk about the sport. And every 4 years, and I'll use Felger and Maz as an example, they will be talking about, they'll call it flopping. It's simulation. It's diving. They don't even know the right term. And they'll spend an hour talking about it, complaining about it. Now, I complain about it too. But if you're going to watch the sport and you see it, just accept it instead of bitching about it over and over again. And it's always the same thing. People not used to the sport, it's always the same criticism. Flopping. Shut up with the flopping and watch the game because you're not going to change that. You're not going to be able to change that. Accept it and watch the sport. I've accepted it. I will complain about it and I'll point it out, but I don't let it ruin the experience. And when you just continue to talk about it, you just show how ignorant you are. You show you only care every 4 years. Don't even comment on it. And we've got this over and over and over again. I live in some call the city of champions when it comes to sports. And I will tell you, probably the world's worst media when it comes to sports. It's horrible. And this is a perfect example of it. Ignorant when it comes to the sport. Just totally ignorant. And Ben Volin was just terrible during this whole World Cup. That's number one negative. Number two, and this one I think has ramifications that will just keep things going backwards, especially until the Revolution get their own stadium. Who knows when the hell that's going to happen, but hopefully it does happen. But we have to talk about this, and I'm going to share something else on my desktop so you can see this. This is from Caleb, who's actually been on the show with me. And I'm going to share this. because this is very disappointing. This is right after right after the matches ended. I think it was the next day. Caleb tweets out, the natural grass surface installed at Gillette Stadium for the World Cup has officially been removed back to artificial turf, and after hosting 7 World Cup matches in Foxborough. So I knew this was going to happen. And I knew that the artificial surface was something that, the grass surface is something that could be there permanently. But my hope was that it would at least be there for a little bit longer. And then maybe just maybe someone would come to their senses and they would put in a permanent grass surface. But guess what? Doesn't look like that's what's going on. It looks like they are going back to the artificial surface, which is horrible for injuries, horrible for the play, not just for the Revolution, but for the Patriots. It's terrible. It's cheap. Let's call it what it is. It's cheap. Spend some money, put in a grass surface, and take care of it. Look how well it was taken care of. And oh, by the way, don't give me the argument that you can't take care of it during a Patriots season. During the hot weather in the summer, you were able to take care of the grass surface at Gillette Stadium. You can do it during a Revolution season and a Patriots season. You just choose not to. Shame on you. Shame on the Kraft family for going back to this. Shame on you, because you have a chance to grow the sport for the Revolution, grow MLS. You take a step back with the crap that you're going to put down. You are going to put your players in danger of getting injured. And oh, by the way, the Patriots players as well. They're better off on a grass surface as well. But you're going to continue to do this. And the only reason why you moved away from it in 2006 is Bill Belichick bitched about the grass surface after a Jets loss. And you took it out and you never put back the grass. You're making a mistake here, Jonathan and Robert Kraft. You're making a massive mistake. Shame on both of you. Okay, I'm serious. Shame on both of you for doing this. You're making an error here because you got all kind of plaudits for this natural grass surface. I understand it was temporary. Bring in a permanent one. Do not put the artificial surface back in. I know you're going to, and you're just wrong. You're just wrong for doing that. I'm sorry to end on a negative, but that to me has really ticked me off. That's basically how I'm going to end this episode. But overall, getting back to the beginning of it, I want to thank everyone who watches and listens to this. I haven't done an episode in a long time, and I miss talking about it. Like I said, a lot going on personally. The end of Fulham's season took up a lot of my time, but I'm now back hosting Football's Global Hub, and it's good to be back. And I think this is a good episode to get me going. And I just want to thank everyone that watches and listens. Well, that's going to do it for me. My name is Russ Goldman. Thank you as always for watching and listening to Football's Global Hub.